So on one of my most recent YouTube videos, I got this comment and I am making an entire video on this topic. So if you are someone who wants your questions answered for free on my YouTube channel, go ahead and leave me a comment of what you want to learn from me and I will answer your question in a future YouTube video. But here's the one I'm answering today. It says, "Hey Michelle, I love your videos. They're so helpful. I'm wondering how you find great locations that match your light and airy photography vibe. Would love some advice on shoot locations / location scouting in general." Okay, thank you, Sydney, for this question. And I would love to talk to you about how I location scout for my photo shoots. So I think it's a little bit funny that a lot of people say that my photography style is light and airy. I would say that I used to be light and airy, and a lot of people still call my photography style light and airy, which is fine. I'll put up some examples of my work here if you are not familiar with it. And I would call this more on the true to life side, but everyone has a different way of describing photography styles. So anyway, I'm happy to share how I find photography locations that match my style and how you can find photography locations that match your style. Even if you're not a light and airy photographer, I'll show you how to find locations that match your vibe, whatever vibe you're looking for, and just how I find locations around my city. I know it's going to be different in every city, like the locations are going to be different, but there's certain things you can look for when you're location scouting that are really going to help you. So I'm going to talk to you in this video about how I go about finding my locations, and also I'm going to talk to you about like what things I look for in locations that I know are going to make it a great location. Okay. So I actually just moved to my city that I live in now about 4 years ago. So I had to do a ton of location scouting when I first moved here. I had no idea what the good spots were. Versus I used to live in Indianapolis and I grew up there my whole life, so I kind of knew, what are some good spots. And so location scouting wasn't quite as difficult because I at least had some places to start. So whether you have lived in your current city for your entire life or whether you are newer to your city, I'm going to tell you how I would go about location scouting. Okay, so first, I would start by looking at the locations that, everyone says they love, and the locations that you see photographers shooting at a lot. So, in my old city that I used to live in, I was aware of like the state parks, the county parks, things like that. And I started there when I was looking for locations. When I moved here, I started getting a feel for, I followed a lot of other photographers on Instagram and joined the local photography Facebook groups and started getting a feel for where people like to shoot. And I would go to those places. And also, I was new to the city. I actually didn't have kids at that time. I was pregnant with my first baby when we moved here. So I've had some free time. I was working on building up my business again. And so I would just go exploring the city a lot. And I would just look up what are some really cool places to visit and do and see. And I would go, so I live in Greenville, South Carolina right now, if you don't know. And I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. So I was just so fascinated by the mountains when I first moved here. I still am. So I would want to go explore all of the mountain view areas close to us. And, that was just for fun, but also getting a feel for what are going to be some good spots for photos as well. Explored all the beautiful spots downtown, again, that I would go just in general, not necessarily just location scouting. Just find really pretty places to go for walks that, again, I'm always, no matter where I'm going, driving down the street, going for walks, doing anything, I'm always thinking in my head, not even necessarily consciously, but I'm always thinking like, if I was going to take photos here, where would I take them? Would this be a good spot for photos? What is the lighting like here? What would the backdrop be like? What would the foreground be like? So no matter where I go, even if it's just for fun, I always kind of have those things in the back of my head. Like, would this be a good spot for photos? And then another thing you have to think about, especially if you're a family photographer like me, is where are people going to park? How easy is the access for toddlers, for strollers, for maybe people with physical limitations. I do a lot of extended family sessions with elderly grandparents. So one spot that a lot of people love in my city is downtown, but it can be hard to find parking. And when you do find parking, it can be a long walk. There's a lot of stairs. And so I tell families, and it's also really crowded. So I tell families, like, this spot's beautiful. It's maybe not the best for elderly grandparents or toddlers who get distracted a lot, or if you need to bring a stroller with you. So those are kind of some things to think through when you're location scouting as well. It's not just about how pretty the spot is, but also the ease of access for your clients. Now, some clients, especially if they have older kids, they're a more adventurous family, they've got no physical limitations, they are going to be totally fine with like hiking a mountain for 2 hours with you to take photos. And another thing to think through is, do you want to do that, right? So when I was single, didn't have kids, and I was a wedding photographer, for things like engagement sessions, I didn't mind a long travel time if it was a really cool spot. Nowadays, I do not, as beautiful as those mountain views are here in the area, it's about a 1 hour drive from where I live and then a 2 hour hike to get to the top of the mountain, which is fine, but I am so booked and busy in my business. It just doesn't make sense for me to do that, right? Because instead of being able to shoot sessions back to back to back and make more money, I'd have to basically carve out an entire day for one shoot. And as beautiful as those photos would be, it just doesn't make sense business-wise for me. So those are some things to think through as well. Is like, how long does it take you to get to the location? And then how long does it take you to, like, walk to the spot from where you park? And are you going to be able to book back-to-back shoots, or are you going to have to plan this huge chunk of travel time in between? And, you can charge a travel fee, but even if you charge a travel fee, it's just not going to make up for not being able to book sessions back to back. So let's say, I'm shooting 1 hour sessions and someone wants to go to a location that's 1 hour away. So I'm driving in my car for an hour, I shoot the session for an hour, and then I have an hour drive back. So that's 2 sessions that I can't book because of that one session. So I can't charge triple the amount. No one's going to pay triple the amount for one session because I have to drive those 2 hours. Does that make sense? So I used to I'm in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm about an hour away from Asheville, which is where like the huge mountain views are. So I get a lot of requests to go to Asheville, and I used to go to Asheville, but it just doesn't make sense for me at this point in my business. Again, because of, I just can't make up, I can't make enough money to make up for the sessions I'm missing by not being able to book back to back with as a smaller amount of travel time in between. And then another thing to think through is like, how does your personal life affect how far you can travel and where you can go? So, maybe you're someone with physical limitations and you need to find some place with easy access. You can't do a bunch of stairs, or, you need to find places that are easy to walk. Another thing is, so I breastfed exclusively my youngest baby. She did not take a bottle at all. So I had to think about things like, okay, I can only be gone for 3 hours at a time. How far away can I go? How many sessions can I book in a row? That kind of thing. Where can, my husband meet us if I need to feed my baby? So that's kind of a personal thing, but maybe you have things like that in your life that you need to think through, like, how does this affect where I can shoot? Okay. And then, so that's kind of like some travel time and how to find some good spots. And then, even if you're someone who does have kids, I talked about location scouting without kids. Even if you're someone who does have kids and you're looking to location scout now, you can go places with your kids. I do that all the time, actually. Even though I kind of have my spots in my city that I like now, a lot of times I want to know, like, okay, what is this? I haven't shot at XYZ time of day. I'm going to go there with my kids at this time of day to see what it's looking like. Or in fall, a lot of times people want to know, like, oh, do we have fall colors yet? And so I'll go there with my kids to check out the fall colors and do some fun things, walk around while we're there. So you can definitely always like go do fun things with your kids and make it fun for your kids when you go and location scout with them as well. Okay, so another thing kind of like what I just talked about is you want to check out the location at all times of day. So I know that a lot of photographers choose to only shoot at golden hour, and if you have watched my videos, you know I strongly disagree with that for many reasons. But one of them is it just doesn't make sense business-wise to only be shooting once a day, maybe twice a day, because not very many people get up for sunrise. So you can't just only shoot 2 sessions a week, you know, assuming people don't really book that much on the weekdays. So business-wise, it just doesn't make sense. And second of all, you have to learn how to take beautiful photos at every time of day, not just golden hour, because it just also doesn't make sense to like be rescheduling anytime the weather or the lighting is not exactly what you want it to be, because you can only shoot in one type of lighting. It doesn't make sense business-wise. It doesn't make sense for your artistry and for your clients having a good experience, right? So I think it's so important for clients to learn how to shoot, for photographers to learn how to shoot at any time of day and in any type of lighting scenario, from indoors to in studio to outdoors when it's cloudy to golden hour to harsh sun midday. Because especially if you're shooting families like me and you've got toddlers with nap schedules and stuff to work around, I always say that happy kids is more important than good lighting. The facial expressions on kids, if they're happy versus if they are melting down because it's 9 p.m. and that's when the sun sets in the summer, is really going to make or break your photos, but more so than the good lighting. And it's going to make or break your client experience and how they feel about their photos, right? They're going to care more about their kids being happy in the photos than they do about it being that perfect golden glowy light. So I think it's really important to learn how to have consistent, beautiful photos no matter what the lighting situation, no matter what time of day it is. So I have a free download for you, which is my free ebook on how to shoot at any time of day and how to take amazing photos at any time of day. So you can go ahead and download that in the description below, and I think that that will really help you. Okay, so back to location scouting. So I want you to go to the location at multiple times of day to see what it looks like in the morning, what it looks like midday, what it looks like at golden hour, and then again in different lighting scenarios. What does it look like on a cloudy day? What does it look like on a sunny day, etc.? And then also you won't be able to do this all at once, but you're going to want to see what it looks like in different seasons as well, so you know what locations to recommend to your clients in different seasons. And then when you're looking at the location, you want to see what type of background it has, obviously. And let's talk about background for a minute. So obviously you want, a pretty background. You can think about things like mountain views, flowers, things like that. But you also want to think about like how much negative space do you have in the background versus like the background being super busy. And maybe, okay, so here's where this is going to kind of diverge into like, do you shoot more moody? Do you shoot more light and airy? Do you shoot more true to color? What do you want the vibe of your photos to be like? Because if you edit your photos the same way, it's going to have a very different vibe if you have a like very open negative space backdrop versus a like dark heavy lots of trees forest backdrop. If you like that dark heavy look, which I see a lot of photographers do and it's beautiful even though it's not my style, you can go ahead and shoot in those like heavily wooded areas. You can shoot with a backdrop with a lot of trees behind it. But if you are more on the light and airy or more true to color vibe, the, warm, light, creamy vibe. That's kind of what I would call my style. I don't like those dark, heavy, super wooded tree backdrops. I want to make sure I've got some light coming through. Obviously that only works if it's a sunny day, but I want to make sure I've got some light coming through the trees. I want to be able to see like the sky and some things through the trees. I don't want to look at the trees and just see trees behind the trees. Does that make sense? Because that'll really make the background more dark when I want the background to be lighter, because that can really make a difference in the overall feel of the photos. Even if your exposure is exactly the same, it'll make your photos feel lighter if you can see the sky behind the trees and not just dark, heavy trees. And I do some of this in editing as well. Now that Lightroom has the new AI features where you can edit the background differently from the subject, I will select the background with AI now and make the background lighter a lot of times, depending on if I've got a dark, heavy background, I'll make it lighter. Or like if I'm shooting a newborn session and I'm front lighting them with a window, a lot of times I'll go make the background lighter because I like to make the overall vibe of the photo similar. I don't really like when the subject is in a different type of lighting than the background. So we want to think about backgrounds, and then we also want to think about foreground. Like what kind of really interesting things can you put in the foreground to make your photos stand out more, like give them an extra like artsy creative feel to them, right? So I love gardens. I love when I can put like flowers in the foreground of my photos, or I'm trying to think like even like other trees in the foreground of your photos. Maybe like cool buildings if you're shooting downtown. So you want to think about what's going to be in the foreground of your photo as well. And then another thing you want to look for is natural reflectors. So a natural reflector is essentially something that is light colored that is going to bounce light back into your subject's face, clean light, so that you don't have to worry about things like color cast. So color cast is where the sun goes through something that is a different color before it hits your subject, and so it can make your subject's skin tones look wonky. So let's say you've got a tree directly above your subject. The sun is going through the tree before it gets your subject. They're gonna have like a green cast on their skin. Or if you are in an open field with lots of grass, it might bounce off the grass before it hits your subject's face, again giving them a green cast. Green is kind of the most common color cast. And so we want to shoot in places, if we can, that have good natural reflectors. Things that make good natural reflectors are things like sidewalks or buildings, or anything light colored that can bounce light back into your subject's face. Gravel paths in like nature preserves, things like that can make really good natural reflectors as well. So those are really going to help you from preventing color cast. Another thing you want to look for is open shade. Open shade is what you're going to use if you're shooting on a sunny day, midday, and you don't want those like harsh shadows on your subject's skin. What you're going to do is you're going to find open shade. Open shade means that you don't have anything directly over your client's head, again, so that we don't get that color cast and things like that, but they're also still in the shade. And so that is going to give you that beautiful even lighting, even in those on those harsh sunny days. And then again, we want to make sure that we're looking at the location in all different types of lighting scenarios, from cloudy days, where is the sun, in the morning versus the evening. And then another thing that took me a while to realize when I first started photography is the sun actually rises and sets in different from different angles depending on the time of year. And it's going to depend on like where you live as well, like how close you are to the equator, I guess. So you are gonna wanna just keep in mind that, like, if you shoot at this location in the summer and then you shoot there in the winter, the sun's not gonna set in the exact same spot. It's gonna be like off to the side a little bit. So just make sure, like, even if you are really familiar with the location, if you haven't shot there at that time of day, in that lighting condition, at that time of year, you're gonna wanna probably visit it again and make sure that the location is still gonna work for you. So this was a lot of information. I actually didn't realize how much I had to say about location scouting. I guess I've just been doing it so long, it's kind of like second nature to me. So if you have any questions on anything that I mentioned, feel free to drop those below. I'd be happy to talk about this more or dive into any of these topics even further. Or if you just have any other questions about photography, family photography, newborn photography, the business side of photography in general, I would be so happy to answer those for you. Feel free to leave me any questions in the comments below and I will make a new video just for you, like I did this one for Sydney. And then, go ahead and don't forget to download that free lighting guide that I have for you. It is an ebook all about how to find amazing lighting no matter what time of day it is, so that you can run your business in a way that you can shoot back to back to back and not only be able to shoot at golden hour. So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know what questions you have, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.